They were here. Some came for healing. Surrounded by music that is still performed to this day, they breathed in the scents of spring flowers. They listened to the sound of the water, sought their cure, and found it. Some came to heal the pain of others. They worked to find ways to heal with music, with sound, to pour light into the dark chambers of illness. 500 years ago, the patients and their doctors were here. 5 centuries ago, in the year 1484, Ottoman ruler Sultan Bayezid II decided to build a kulliye, a mosque complex, for this unforgettable former capital of the Ottoman Empire. This is Edirne, the site of Bayezid II's complex. In this city, certain places and sounds are like gateways to a much older era. Her streets take the visitor on a journey where old and new blend together.
Her konser günü aynı duyguları yaşıyorum. Ben müziğe doğru yol alırken müzik de tarihin sırlarını hatırlamamızı istiyor. Sanki sadece melodileri değil, ait oldukları mekan ve insan öykülerini de dillendirmek istiyor.
Bugün notalarla suların, sesimizle tarihin yeniden buluşma günü. Yine Edirne içinde hem bugüne hem geçmişe doğru yeni bir yolculuk başlıyor. Seslerin, mekanların ve sessiz tanıkların eşlik edeceği yeni bir yolculuğa çıkıyoruz sanki.
Edirne is a city that embraces modern life together with its historical presence. A frontier town in every sense, it is both modern Turkey's gateway towards Europe, as well as a former Ottoman capital. These 2 musicians will perform in a concert in the Health Museum of the Bayezid complex. They stroll Edirne's streets, streets that have witnessed the rise and fall of a city and of an empire. Edirne is a proud city, graced with some of the most outstanding works of the early Ottoman period. The placement of the complexes, temples, markets, and caravanserais within this city is no matter of chance. Edirne is a city that actually grew in sections built by each sultan. Edirne lies at the confluence of 3 major Balkan rivers, the Meriç, the Arda, and the Tunca. These rivers are spanned by a host of bridges, most of them built by Sinan the architect. The Selimiye Mosque, the crowning work of the great architect Sinan, is also in Edirne. This was one of the greatest gifts that could be bestowed on a city. In serious decline in the last century, Edirne is now trying to preserve its identity with a series of restorations. The concepts of health and healing are very important ones in Edirne and constitute the reason behind the significance of Sultan Bayezid II's complex. Completed in 4 years, the complex served Edirne for nearly 5 centuries. It was comprised of a medical school, a hospital, a mosque, and social service buildings, some of which have not survived to the present day. It also included a guest house, a poorhouse, a dining hall, baths, a conservatory, and an observatory that kept track of the date and time. Alongside the hospital, which was built as the most advanced of its period, was the medrese, the school where students were educated in the theory of medicine. Then, they honed their skills by actual practice in the hospital. With its unique architectural features, the hospital remains an important example even today. The structure was designed with the patient's need for light, sound, and clean air in mind. The rooms had windows that looked out onto the gardens and into the central hall. The patients' rooms, built around a hall covered by a high dome, are arranged as the petals of a flower. This arrangement facilitated the operation of the hospital with a minimum of personnel. This design has been drawn upon for several major modern-day medical institutions, including the Johns Hopkins Medical Center. Acoustics were also taken into account in the architectural design, because in this hospital, music was one of the treatments. This was a reflection of a civilization that valued the human being, thinking to heal the sick, starting with the spirit, feeding them with beauty. For this reason, there was a stage built in the patient's ward. In the patient's ward of the hospital, a 10-member musical ensemble participated in the healing process by playing 3 times during the week. For musical treatment, research was done on which musical modes were good for which illnesses, and recommendations were made. The healing influence of this music, which reached the soul and gave a sense of well-being, is thought to affect the nervous system. In addition, the sound of water and the pleasing sense of spring flowers were among the treatments practiced here. A great fountain in the central hall, fed by the waters of the Tunja River, sent the sound of gushing water throughout the building and brought a feeling of peace to the patients. Patients were given diet foods appropriate for their condition, and the drugs, syrups, and other remedies were prepared at the hospital. Written documents show that all health services were provided free of charge. Many methods used in modern psychiatric treatment were being practiced 500 years ago at the Edirne Hospital. However, later in its history, things were not so bright as in the beginning. A many-faceted hospital at first, it became in time a poorly maintained isolation ward. Even though it sometimes functioned as a hospital, it never managed to return to its founding goals. One after another, the doors of the treatment centers closed. The water dried up, the flowers wilted, and the music fell silent. Ironically, the ones to resurrect it would be the modern medical community.
Efendim 1950'de buraya geldiğim zaman eski bir tıp merkezidir burası. Burayı da özellikle ziyaret ettiğimde burası tarif edilmez derecede perişan bir haldeydi. Dış kubbeler yıkık, kurşunları dökülmüş. O zaman sette yoktu. Nehir buraya taşıyordu ve her taraf aşağı yukarı 1 metreye yakın su içinde kalıyordu. Ve şimdiki gördüğümüz hastane yataklı bölüm kısmında o şadırvanın etrafında koyun ağılı idi.
For the hospital's survival today as a medical museum, we're indebted to the medical community, civilian foundations, and enlightened administrators. According to the University of Thrace School of Medicine, founded in 1974, the complex, with its hospital and medrese, began operation in 1488. Since 1984, the University of Thrace has contributed to the restoration work of the complex and has also begun using the space for educational purposes. The University of Thrace, along with civil foundations such as the Mental Illness Rehabilitation Association, medical foundations, and the Edirne governorship, put forth a monumental effort towards restoring the Bayezid complex and putting it back into operation. On March 19, 1997, the Senate of the University of Thrace voted unanimously to found the University of Thrace Sultan Bayezid II Complex Medical Museum. This decision was a turning point in the fate of the complex. The inpatient section of the hospital, faithfully restored to its original state by the Mental Illness Rehabilitation Association, constituted a first in its area. The History of Psychiatry section was finished with exceptionally meticulous care and was opened with a special ceremony in the year 2000. Later, in 2002, the University of Thrace restored the complex's medrese section and turned it into a museum of contemporary painting and sculpture. At the same time, a family practice clinic was opened to serve the people of the area. The transformation of the Bayezid Hospital into the University of Thrace Health Museum was not simply a restoration of a structure. The sum result of the effort was a new spatial, functional, and educational organization. In this sense, the structure has been brought back into our lives in a way harmonious with the function for which it was constructed. With this restoration, uniting the functions of museum and health center, the complex has been reborn. For this reason, Edirne has gained not only a museum, but an important witness to history. They are here. The music continues. The voices of those wishing to bring light to a darkness that has lasted for centuries once again embrace the complex. Important witnesses to our common humanity come among us once more. Knowledge and imagination unite our world. The ones who created our civilization and those who continue to ensure its survival, they are still here.